Come on in, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the most spiritual show.
Sean, what the hell is going on? Sean, that's you?
You messing up our cheek.
Oh. I really just came
Hit
in
the like button.
Actually, you. I thought we got hacked.
Share the show. Please like the show. Share the show, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to have an impactful event this evening.
Why are you doing this?
We're going to get into quantum mysticisms, crystal healing and energy, vibrations, and homeopathic remedies. With your brother Sean P. And we have the Black Panther with
the crystals. I'm getting out of here. Nope. I'm leaving. No, you don't have me.
He's dropping off the vibranium. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest show in Massey Warrior Clan history. The Quantum Show. The show that's going to let you know we are a spiritual people. Return to your roots. Madame Blavatsky was right. Yes, she was. And all the spiritual teachings in ancient Kemet that come from our dear brother, none other than, should I say his name? Y'all know who he is. Brothers like General Seti, Baba Kwesi, even our dear elder ancestor, Dr. Ben, has referred to this spiritual guidance of the one and only true utmost upright teacher. Yes, he did. They all did. And this was because of Madame Blavatsky. She has us here today. Yes, she does. So come on in, my people. Join me in Wusan as we transcend into the 2022 era. Do you not know who Bobby Hemmett is? Phil Valentine, the red and the blue pill. Do you not know who KT the arch degree be? My brothers and sisters, do you? You don't know who the other spiritual folk in the community are? Do you? Get your crystals out. Grab your vegan water. Lay down your spiritual towel. Light your scented candles. Do not forget your sage. We are about to partake in a spiritual journey like no other today. And I appreciate everyone that's tuned in to the Massey Warrior Clan. You are on the right channel. Please like the show, share the show, and tell a friend to tell a friend. Our third eye is open again. So join me in commemorating 2022 the right way. Don't hesitate. Don't play a hate. You are in the right place. You heard what I say. This is the Quantum Mysticism Show. We are going back to our roots and elevate. And I said elevate. That means we're going to vibrate higher than we ever been. We are going to transcend into 2022 like no other today. Welcome to the spiritual show where the crystals cling and our third eye blings. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to partake on this journey with me? Could you please get your sisters and brothers, the chakra princesses and all, the Kemetic yoga community, and Brother Jabari, join us today. Come on now. Don't you hesitate to hit the like button. Don't you hesitate to properly understand. Don't you hesitate to partake on this spiritual journey with me through the quantum mysticisms. As we get it in, you will learn what the science says. So as we calm our minds, uplift our spirits, and transcend our thoughts, and astral project into the next millennium, and leave this place we called America for the spiritual world, we will do what we came to do the way that we come to do it. So I thank all of you for joining us today. And this is who we are.
You looking at a young black king. Astro project, blast of attack, pass your neck with the shit to leave a rapper erect from the back of a black Acura. Bullet ricocheted and it's weighted and it passed through your pecs. The assassin wet. All y'all know y'all don't have to go. Sawed off shoddy, make you potty, probably call the law. Me no gangster, I'm no tough, got me child of the most high. I get on the mic and you go, bye bye. Devil don't test me, I throw shrapnel where your chest be. Shooting our family down in the streets. Fuck the police, they ain't marching for me. Pull up, not that Rari, I ain't bad yet. I pull up, out that 85% of mass at. I put this on God, bad black is so hard. Bitch, I'm going back to Harlem in my West African garb.
Quantum healing is a controversial form of mind-body medicine wherein a fundamental change in consciousness is said to produce a profound healing of the body and mind. The term quantum healing was first introduced by the Deepak Chopra, MD, in his book Quantum Healing in 1989. To explain certain types of sudden and dramatic healing of the human body, such as spontaneous remissions that are not understood by conventional medicine, no. But Chopra postulates that these extraordinary forms of healing are related to the understanding of quantum physics and of consciousness. Yes, he did. Just as quantum physics aims to describe physical phenomena normally hidden at the subatomic level, so quantum healing is directed to healing the body-mind from a deep, unmanifest level of consciousness. Do you hear me? Chakra clap for me one time. Chakra clap. The mind and body are expressions of the profound consciousness, which Chopra calls the quantum mechanical body. See, Chopra identifies quantum mechanical body with quantum level of physical reality. He maintains, that we can activate profound healing of the mind and body by consciously assessing this quantum level of our being, ladies and gentlemen. Chopra developed quantum healing by combining principles of mind body medicine and ideas from quantum physics. Transcendental meditation, or what we know as TM, and the Ayurveda, the ancient Indian system of medicine that views health as the balance of the mind, body, and spirit. See, after a number of years of traditional medicine practice, Chopra became dissatisfied with the approach of Western medicine. And in 1994 and 1984, he was introduced to Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the founder of TM movement, who encouraged him to investigate Ayurveda. In 1985, Chopra became a director of the Maharishi Ayurveda Health Center in Lancaster, Massachusetts, with TM in Ayurveda. Since 1993, he has devoted much of his time to writing and lecturing of the mind, body, healing, spirituality, and related topics. Chopra has become one of the most well-known and controversial advocates of mind, body, medicine in the United States. See, Chopra has been criticized for promoting and profiting from medical treatments not yet tested by scientific studies, nor consistent with the established scientific concepts. No, he bucks the system. For example, his fundamental premise, postulating a deep connection between the ideas of quantum physics and the mind body relationship, is highly controversial. Even more speculative in his hypothesis that quantum physics provides a scientific explanation for the manner in which deep transformations in consciousness produce extraordinary forms of healing in the body. And as a result, Chopra integrated integrity has been questioned because of an apparent attempt to legitimize and further promote his methods by implying that they are based on quantum physics. What is the problem, ladies and gentlemen? Regardless of the ultimate accuracies of Chopra's theoretical explanation, however, mainstream scientific medical research has demonstrated that various mind body interactions, such as the placebo effect, do exist and can have significant effects in healing. The effectiveness of Chopra's methods, therefore, should not be confused with the veracity of this theoretical explanation for them. At the same time, in mind, body, and medicine, chakra clap, the effectiveness of treatment method can depend on subjects' confidence in the treatment, which in turn can be influenced by the acceptance of theoretical explanation provided for the treatment, regardless of scientific validity. You understand me? We don't need scientific validity to astral project. We don't need scientific validity to rock our crystals and heal ourselves. We don't need scientific validity to say no to vaccines and so what jeopardize our health. We don't need scientific validity to subject our worldview on everything that we have going on, ladies and gentlemen, because we are of the universe. We are stardust. We are every component in the element chart. Yes, we are. We are zinc. We are vitamin D. We are vitamin C. We are oxygen, hydrogen. We are all. We are the two smashing elements. We are the molecules. We are the Big Bang. We are who we say we are. Quantum healing is a pseudoscientific mixture of ideas which purportedly draws from quantum mechanics, psychology, philosophy, and neurophysiology. Advocates of quantum healing assert that quantum phenomena govern health and well being. There are a number of different versions which allude to various quantum ideas, including wave particle duality and virtual particles, and more generally to energy and to vibrations. Yes, 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 y'all. Quantum healing is a form of alternative medicine. That's what the scientific community says. They say that us alternative medicine, homeopathic people can't heal ourselves. They act like we don't have herbs and spices that can prevent SARS-CoV-2. They act like we need a vaccine. They act like we can't cure AIDS, herpes, and all these other things. That's what they act like. Well, at least that's what they act like in 2022. See, at the crown chakra level, we possess the manifestation ability to foresee the things that we can cure before they even present themselves to us because we are herbologists. See, with crystal healing, we have the ability to be able to protect ourselves with our crystals. So we rock these to draw upon the powers that you scientific people can't do. Now, I'm going to give you some stone cold facts about germstone treatments from the science. Crystal healing is an alternative medical technique. So they think it is. It's just because they don't practice it, they just don't know about it, y'all. They ain't into crystal healing, so they don't know what the green stone, red stone, blue stone, white stone, purple stone do. They not stoners. They not of that. They are still sleep sheep. We the woke folk. So they can't transcend the way that we do, ladies and gentlemen. Why are we listening to these fools? Why? I have spoken to Dr. Sabi this past evening before the new year came into be. I summoned him. Y'all. And he told me to stay vegan. He told me to not use certain things and put it in my body. He told me that if I use bladder properly, that I can do some magnificent things when he talked to me. But the scientific community told me not to use none of those things. What the hell are they talking about? On to my crystals. Because I'm standing on a corner straight slanging rocks in my Infudigi hat with my comedic yoga position. Crystal healing. See, Cedric mocks the metaphysical world because he can't tap into that science. He can't. He's lost. That Caribbean brother has no idea. He don't know the level of sea moss it takes to fight COVID. See, he won't even drink the sea moss smoothie that we made for him. He said, no, I'm going to go get vaccinated. I'm going to go get the vaccine. See, he's a joke. He's a joke. To shun my sea moss like that, he's a joke. Yes, he is, y'all. Crystal healing is an alternative medical technique in which crystals and other stones are used to cure ailments and protect against disease. You see, COVID, ladies and gentlemen, 19 is a disease, and I got the cure. I possess a crystal that can cure and protect you from COVID-19. You hear me? All you got to do is ask me for my Cash App and then email me, and I will send the crystals to you They are growing in my backyard as we speak. This is why COVID can't come in the vicinity of my residence. You understand me? My home is protected by Mother Earth, by the natural one, the almost all high, all succumbing, all knowing, all everything encompassing Mother Nature. Ladies and gentlemen, please like this show, share this show, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, friend. Please. Please. Tell a friend. Hold on one second, y'all. I'm gonna get back right back to my article. Just give me a second. I need to pull up something for people who continue to mock me. I need to pull something up for them. Okay. So just bear with me a moment and let me pull this up. And when I pull this up, I don't want to hear nothing from nobody. I'm about to demonstrate. Demonstration beats conversation is what pseudo Asar Imhotep has taught you people out there. That's what he says. That's what Wujawu says. That's what a lot of people say. But I don't see y'all demonstrating. No, I don't see y'all out here pontificating. No, I don't see y'all out here regulating. Nope. I see y'all out here pseudo hating. That's what y'all doing. Y'all out here pseudo hating. And y'all calling everything pseudo. Don't even know what the word means. Running around everything pseudo. Yeah, everything pseudo to a non-believer. You just don't know. Your ancestors were the best believers on this planet. I don't know where y'all get the audacity at to hate the way that y'all hate. Give me a second. I got your demonstration. I got your demonstration. I got it. You best believe I got it. Oh, I got it. Oh, I got it. Mm-hmm. Every bit of it, I got it. Where it go? It's coming. But look, y'all. I see I'm losing a couple of people, and it's absolutely fine. But we need to get the audience up. Hit the like button. Share the show. We getting into quantum healing. This is the quantum healing show. This ain't none of that other stuff that y'all used to. See, we gonna get to what we need to get to over here. We gonna deal with it the right way. What's this? Okay, that ain't what I want. That's the wrong one. That's the wrong one too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the wrong one too. I think it's coming. Yep. Oh, I got it. Oh, I got it. Don't try to challenge me. Oh, I got it. Mm-hmm. Oh, my bad. Let me share my screen. Cause I can't believe some of y'all. I can't believe some of y'all out here. Y'all just don't know what we go through out here on a day-to-day basis. You just don't know what we deal with on a day-to-day basis, and then y'all want to act funny.
That bathroom smelled so bad I couldn't see. I felt so bad for these kids.
See, most of y'all are laughing right now, but y'all just don't know. I visited, right? I visited where he went. I visited where he went. I smelt the bathroom, and he was right. It did stink. It stunk so bad, I had tears in my eyes too. So I know how you feel. I know how you feel, brother. I know how you feel when it stink that bad. I know how you feel when you're trying to get away from it. I know how you feel when you're trying to teach your people that crystals would have cured that bathroom. Crystals would have kept the funk out that bathroom. And all you was missing was the crystals from my backyard to clear up that funk. Now, despite the fact that crystal healing has been an upsurge in popularity in recent years, this alternative treatment, they disrespect in our practice, is not popular with most medical doctors and scientists, many of whom refer to crystal healing as a pseudoscience. Specifically speaking, there's no evidence that crystal healing can be used to cure disease because disease has never been found to be the result of a so-called energy flow in the body. Furthermore, no scientific studies have shown that crystals and gems can be differentiated by the chemical composition of color to treat a particular ailment. Nevertheless, healing crystals remain popular at health spas and at New Age health clinics, sometimes incorporated into related practices of massage and Reiki. You understand me? The use of crystals in such environments may help induce relaxation, although this effect is also not backed by scientific evidence. So how it's supposed to work? Crystal healing proponents believe that crystals and gemstones have properties that facilitate healing. Many sites promoted crystal healing allege that the history of this practice is ancient, dating back 6,000 years ago among the Sumerians and the Egyptians. They reference this practice. This is what they tell us as being, you know what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about. This is the importance of Madame Blavatsky. This is the importance of her. She was critical in this whole notion to help us understand that this was a part of our culture. This is what we did. These are the things that matter to us. Yes, yes, y'all. Yes, yes, y'all. In the place to be. Crystal healing. Then they try to diss homeopathy like we ain't out here just healing. They said that homeopathy is a pseudoscientific system of alternative medicine. It was conceived in 1796 by a German physician named Samuel Hahnemann. Its practitioners, called homeopaths, believe that a substance that causes the symptoms of the disease in healthy people can cure similar symptoms in sick people, y'all. They said this doctrine is called Similis Corentu, or like curses like. Homeopathic preparations are termed remedies and are made using homeopathic dilutions. In this process, then selected substance is repeatedly diluted until the final product is chemically indigestible from the dilute. Often, not even a single molecule or original substance can be expected to remain in the product. Between each dilution, homeopaths may hit and or shake the product, claiming this makes the dilute remember the original substance after its removal. See, us practitioners claim that such preparations, open oral intake, can treat or cure disease. But we know this because we practice this, man. We practice this. What are y'all doing out here? See, all relevant scientific knowledge about physics, chemistry, biochemistry, and biology gained since the last mid-19th century contradicts homeopathy because homeopathic remedies are biochemically inert and have no effect on any known disease. So they think. See, Hahnemann's theory of disease centered around principles he termed misaims is inconsistent with subsequent identification of viruses and bacteria and causes of each disease. Let me stop reading it. I am killing myself right now. Hold on, y'all. Let me hold on. Hold on. I gotta do this again. I gotta do this again. All right. This again. I don't understand why you people in the chat keep on attacking me. I told you I astro projected to Africa. I went into that bathroom and I had the same freaking reaction.
bathroom smelled so bad I couldn't see. I felt so bad for these kids.
So 1 minute, y'all. 1 minute, y'all. The FDA even got something to say about homeopathic products. They said homeopathy is an alternative medical practice that was developed in the late 1700s. It says homeopathy is generally based on two main principles: that a substance that causes symptoms in a healthy person can be used in a diluted form to treat symptoms and illnesses, a principle known as like, purse, like. We just read that. We also read that historically homeopathic products have been identified through provings in which substances are administered to healthy volunteers in concentrations that causes symptoms. Symptoms experienced by volunteers are recorded to indicate possible therapeutic uses for the substances. In other words, if a substance causes a particular symptoms, individual experiences that symptom would be treated with a diluted solution made from the substance. There are no FDA approved products labeled as homeopathic. This means that any product labeled as homeopathic is being marketed in the US without FDA evaluation for safety or effectiveness. So, brother, our dear native, indigenous brother, Muslim brother Ali, the FDA says you can't market your products the way that you do. KT, the arch degree, the FDA says you can't do that either. To the brothers, to the daughters and family members of our late Sabi and what's his name? Layla Africa. You can't do that either. But they just not connected to us spiritually. They just don't understand how open our third eye been for centuries. They don't know that we started everything around this earth. We created all things. They don't get their religion without us. They don't get their spiritual without us. We the ones. We are the people who do it big. But when I went into that bathroom and I smelt it, I had the same reaction.
That bathroom smelled so bad I couldn't see. I felt so bad for these kids.
Felt so bad and didn't do nothing. I watched you when I went back and astral projected. I said, look at our dear brother. Sit on his ass. See, the FDA is trying to, like you said, hide the truth. But the real reason that we're here today, ladies and gentlemen, is so we can learn. Thank you for tuning into my early shenanigans. Let's get to the science.
Hey everyone, so as many of you know, I am fascinated with the way the public perceives science, and in particular the broad pseudoscientific trends that crop up in our culture, influencing the masses to varying degrees. I like to identify them, diagnose them, and disarm them. Today I want to talk about one such flavor of pseudoscience related to the field of physics that has been picking up steam since the 1990s, and that is quantum mysticism. What the heck is quantum mysticism, you ask? Excellent question. It's challenging to encapsulate this phenomenon in a sentence, but I believe I can do it fairly well. The essence of quantum mysticism goes like this. Quantum physics is confusing, so it's magic. Therefore, if magic can be framed using the terminology of quantum physics, that magic is real. You see, quantum theory, from the perspective of the public, is shrouded in mystery. It is typically spoken about in an almost mystical tone, as though it were akin to the occult. This is largely due to the fact that it is very hard to understand. True comprehension is reserved for physicists and mathematicians who can solve complex equations, as the power of this theory lies exclusively in the math itself. Everyone else must be satisfied with hollow, often misleading conceptual explanations, and that is indeed the way this topic is typically explained to the masses, who demand explanations under the false assumption that this area of science must somehow be immediately and fully transparent to them. For whatever reason, people tend to be interested only in the frontier of scientific fields. So instead of wanting to learn about Newton's laws, which they would have a solid chance of understanding with some competence in basic high school algebra, they want to talk about things like quantum mechanics, which most of us have zero chance of fundamentally comprehending, given the lack of prerequisite knowledge faced by anyone without at least a bachelor's degree in physics. When media outlets attempt to satiate this desire to commune with the boundary between the known and unknown, they take lots of liberties and make lots of mistakes, and the public brings a lot of baggage to the table. Even with seemingly professional pseudo-documentaries like What the Bleep Do We Know?, the concepts are sorely misrepresented, and the viewer walks away with a false sense of comprehension, or worse still, a head full of lies. This confusion can lead people to purchase whimsical books and expensive seminars from ridiculous false prophets, forego medical treatment in favor of unsubstantiated healers and gurus, and sometimes even get roped into a cult or two. There are many flavors of this fact, and a bit later we will get to the meat of the deception, which invariably involves misuse of the word quantum and deliberate misinterpretation of something called the double slit experiment. But I would like to start somewhere more fundamental. Let's begin with the core confusion that enables the whole show. Much like other scams and pseudoscience, it all stems from a misunderstanding of basic scientific concepts and terminology. In this case, it is the word energy. What is energy? Even just hearing that word out loud, dozens of connotations probably come to mind. Here is the way quantum mystics on the internet use the word incorrectly.
They talk about something called spirit and energy and an invisible force that seems to be controlling who and what we really are. Quantum physics emphasizes that the universe is not really split into two realms, a material realm and an energetic realm. Quantum physics reveals that everything is made out of energy. What we perceive as matter is actually an illusion of energy and light, that there is nothing physical.
So as you can see, to the quantum mystic, energy is a synonym for magic. It means whatever they want it to mean in order to sell to the suggestible viewer whatever it is that they're selling. But in science, this word has a very specific definition, which we must learn now. For maximum effect, please purge yourself of every connotation you are aware of for the word energy, as the term has been completely convoluted by society, so we need to start from a blank slate. Act as if you've never heard this word before. Are you ready? Here it comes. Energy is the capacity to do work. The end. Now, to further clarify, we should also define work. Again, in society, this word means many things. It can refer to a profession, an action, or even a location. So let's again purge ourselves of these connotations so that we can learn what it means in science. Work refers to an action done on an object whereby an applied force causes a displacement of that object. So work is about motion. When you apply a force to an object and it moves, like pushing a box across the floor, you're doing work. So energy is the capacity to do work, which is what causes motion. And that's all there is to it. Energy is a property of a system and nothing more. To elucidate further still, we could highlight different forms of energy. Kinetic energy is the energy an object possesses by virtue of its motion, which can be transferred to other objects through collisions. Potential energy is the energy an object possesses by virtue of its position in a field. Lifting an object into the air increases its gravitational potential energy, which is then converted into kinetic energy as it falls, just the way a compressed spring has a lot of potential energy, which is released as it expands. Thermal energy, or heat, is just a transfer of kinetic energy, and temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles in a system. Hotter systems of particles are moving faster on average. Colder systems of particles are moving slower on average. Chemical energy is a kind of potential energy which describes the potential of some molecule to undergo a particular chemical reaction, which is simply a rearrangement of atoms. All of the above is explained in far greater detail over in my classical physics playlist, should you wish to learn about these concepts. Finally, matter itself is a form of energy, according to the most famous equation of all time, Einstein's E equals mc squared. E is energy, m is mass, and c is the speed of light, which is a big number, and when squared is an even bigger number. So matter times this big number equals lots of energy. But even this form of energy is not mystical in any way. When matter is converted to energy in a fusion reactor or a nuclear bomb, it is still the same phenomenon we have been describing. It can be defined rigorously and measured quantitatively. So even in this abstract context, it is never ill-defined or vague. So you see, when we say everything is energy, it's actually a true statement because matter is a form of energy. But this does not mean that there is a magical spiritual world. It does not mean you can heal yourself with your mind or any of the other bogus claims we will investigate in a moment. Energy is not an object. It is not a substance. It is not an essence or a life force or a magical realm. It is a property of an object or system that can be transferred into another object or system, typically in the form of work. That's what energy is, and that's the only thing that energy is. Unfortunately, colloquial usage of the word energy has muddied and obscured this definition. People say things like, "This room has such good energy." This is a metaphorical usage of the word, which is acceptable if acknowledged as strictly metaphorical. It means that one gets a good impression from the room. It conveys a feeling in a fun, poetic way. It does not mean that there is a literal substance emanating from the room that we call good energy, which is magically perceived by your third eye in some way that science can't comprehend. Further compounding the confusion is the fact that in physics, quantitative measurements of energy, in particular potential energy, can have positive or negative values. Positive means greater than zero, negative means less than zero. It's just math and the way we define systems in physics. By sheer linguistic coincidence, we also use the word positive to mean good and negative to mean bad, as in having a positive or negative experience. But these two connotations are totally unrelated. So when people remove the concept of positive or negative energy from the arithmetic domain in which it has actual meaning and take these phrases to mean good or bad energy, the result is totally meaningless. There is no such thing as good energy or bad energy. There is no context in which this makes any sense except the strictly metaphorical. So when these terms are used improperly, it is simply an unfortunate side effect of allowing words to have multiple meanings in a language. The literalization of this metaphorical usage confuses people and renders them susceptible to cranks and con men who exploit this confusion for financial gain.
What? What?
That bathroom smelled so bad I couldn't see. I felt so bad for these kids.
Speaking of cranks and con men, let's get to them now. I want to start with one of the primary figures, if not the primary figure, responsible for the popularization of quantum mysticism in the 1990s. That is the glammed out guru himself, Deepak Chopra. Deepak rose to prominence on the success of his 1993 book, Ageless Body, Timeless Mind, The Quantum Alternative to Growing Old. This, along with his previous book called Quantum Healing, piggybacked on the broader New Age movement that was picking up steam, and he rode the tidal wave of science-flavored, self-help themed snake oil to significant fame and fortune. As you can see, quantum is a very important buzzword for this brand of deception, and it only serves to disguise mysticism as science. Given that Chopra has published nearly 100 books, there is no time to go into every single thing he's written, nor would I ever subject myself to that kind of torture. But a pervading theme across his body of work is the power of the mind. The mind, according to him, has limitless power in healing oneself, as well as shaping or even manifesting aspects of physical reality. He describes the phenomenon of perfect health, the title of another one of his books, and a selling point for his ultra-expensive wellness retreats. He advertises that those who read or attend and learn these techniques, which we could call sorcery, can be totally free of disease, never feel pain, and even halt the aging process, all simply with the mind. Of course, it seems that even Deepak himself was unable to put that last technique into practice, as he is 74 years old and he looks his age. His other favorite thing to talk about is how physics tells us that consciousness creates reality, another hallmark of the quantum mystic. Here's a taste.
There is no universe. It's a human construct. There is no body. It's a human construct for a mode of knowing and perception. There are no electromagnetic fields or molecules or atoms.
The Congo don't teach that. Y'all heard what he said? There is no universe. Show me an African system that teaches that.
Or waves of particles. These are human constructs for modes of knowing and experience in human consciousness. The only thing we can say with certainty about the universe, what's it made of, is it's made of nothing. Non-locality, if you tickle the universe here, it laughs there. If you ever ask a question here, it answers there, because consciousness non-locally is correlated everywhere. That's the deeper questions. There's mathematics to prove that.
So as we can see, even for those who aren't specifically looking to be healed, there is still plenty to bait you with. The selling points of consciousness creating reality pretty much write themselves. Realizing your infinite potential, manifesting your desires. These are all attractive notions which can ensnare suggestible people who are dissatisfied with their lives or otherwise overwhelmed by reality. It's emptiness disguised as transcendental self-improvement, something which has served as the basis for Scientology and other successful criminal organizations. To be fair, not every quantum mystic has their own cult, but some of them do. And even those that don't, should we really look the other way when people make a fortune from deliberately misleading the public? How is it that they are able to do this? The success of Deepak stems from two things. First, he uses his Indian identity and calm, calculated manner of speech to put out an air of ancient Eastern wisdom. To the untrained ear, he sounds like a wise sage. And he also was at one point a real doctor, so he appears to have credibility. Second, he is a third as overwhelmed by reality. It's emptiness disguised as transcendental self-improvement, something which has served as the basis for Scientology and other successful criminal organizations.
You heard it.
To be fair, not every quantum mystic has their own cult, but some of them do. And even those that don't, should we really look the other way when people make a fortune from deliberately misleading the public? How is it that they are able to do this? The success of Deepak stems from two things. First, he uses his Indian identity and calm, calculated manner of speech to put out an air of ancient Eastern wisdom. To the untrained ear, he sounds like a wise sage. And he also was at one point a real doctor, so he appears to have credibility. Second, he is a third-degree black belt in the art of pseudoscientific word salad. He may be the best there's ever been at this impressive skill. He knows precisely which buzzwords to use and in precisely which combinations so as to present what sounds to many like profound truths, when in reality most of what he says is utterly meaningless. In fact, there is a Deepak Chopra quote generator online called Wisdom of Chopra, which is programmed with vocabulary from his Twitter feed and equipped with a randomizer, which will spit out randomly generated blocks of text that are completely indistinguishable from what he actually says. Here, I'll show you. These are all statements that were randomly generated for me by Wisdom of Chopra, except one, which is something Deepak actually said. See if you can pick out the genuine quote. And here it is. Did you get it? Don't worry if you didn't. You're not missing anything. So as you can see, it's a simple formula. dazzle people with spiritual sounding nonsense until their eyes glaze over and they open up their wallets nice and wide. And given Chopra's net worth of $150 million, it would seem that it is quite an effective formula as well. You see,
$150 million. $150 million net worth. Selling people quantum mysticism. Got black people in America confused as hell and got us thinking that we healing and doing all of these things that we're not doing. He is balling off the bull. Let's continue because we got about 40 more minutes of this, and it get even better than what y'all just thought.
As well. You see, this particular flavor of gibberish resonates strongly with a certain type of person. This would be the secular individual who is filled with the longing for worship, but has no institutionalized God to put it upon. We all possess certain neural proclivities towards seeking and affirming divinity. And to this end, quantum mysticism offers the universe as God, along with all the transcendence, permanence, interconnectedness, and self-empowerment without any of the burdens of organized religion. It's a vapid stand-in for spirituality that avoids the outdated social practices and conservatism of the more popular faiths, but keeps the perceived ties to the ancient world, wild unsubstantiated claims about reality, plus bonus cheese and chakras. Even for those who aren't looking for God, there is plenty to work with, since all humans have certain desires that are easy to tap into. We see this with virtually all of Chopra's book titles. The spontaneous fulfillment of desire, you are the universe, boundless energy, the wisdom within. It's marketing. People want their anxieties to congeal into serenity, which gives way to perfect control over their lives and minds. People want to feel relevant in the universe and connected to everything in it. Quantum mystics are attuned to the deep longings of their target demographic in order to most effectively exploit them, and to that end, they are selling one thing only: identity. You see, a brand of razor blade may be selling masculinity. A brand of fragrance may be selling elegance. A brand of soft drink might even sell the feeling of being extreme. But the quantum mystic, on the other hand, is selling artificial transcendence. It's the convenient sale of an enlightened self-image for the spiritual warrior in a hurry. Given that we live in the internet age, this fad is not limited to a handful of authors and gurus. Many versions of this narrative can be found all over YouTube. There are hundreds of such channels, each with their own flavor, but the core message tends to be pretty much the same. So I'll just pick on one of the bigger ones, which is called Spirit Science. Here we find mystical ramblings amidst a backdrop of delightful animations. Let's take a listen to one about crystals.
Crystals? What are they? No, seriously, look at all these amazing structures and forms. They're beautiful, they're powerful, and they're life. Crystals are the essence of life manifesting within the earth, the blossoms of the mineralogical portion of the earth. Recognition of these energies and forms of crystals can greatly benefit your personal growth. It is a very basic consciousness, not as intricate or advanced as some life on earth. Crystals definitely don't have the thinking capacity of humans, or even the biological reproductive systems of plants, but they are life.
No, crystals are not alive. There are very specific criteria that qualify something as being alive, including metabolic activity, which means lots of chemistry happening inside all the time, response to stimuli, growth, and reproduction. Crystals are inert. They are not alive, period. The word life has a rigorous definition, and it can't just be applied to any random object.
Crystals are defined as being a mineralogical body with a characteristic internal structure and enclosed by a symmetry of plane faces. They are, however, much more than that.
No, they are not.
We've discussed before that everything in the universe is a vibration, existing through many different frequencies at once. Our physical bodies are on this physical plane, but the sounds that we hear vibrate to a different frequency, as with smells and even thoughts. Crystals also vibrate to many frequencies at once.
We are discovering some more key buzzwords for the quantum mystic: vibration and frequency. These are used just like energy as being synonymous with magic. That atoms and molecules vibrate doesn't mean they can cast magic spells, and frequency is just a word that means number of cycles per unit time and has no significance when not applied to a concretely defined phenomenon. When the mystic says higher frequencies, They mean good frequencies, which doesn't mean anything, just like good energy doesn't mean anything. When the quantum mystic says that something is emitting frequencies or vibrating to frequencies, they mean that it is magic, and they want to use a scientific vocabulary word to pretend that magic is real.
Health is the natural state of any form in the universe. Considering the vibrational existence of reality, health comes when the frequencies of anything are in balance and harmony with itself.
Health is not the natural state of things. Disease is natural. Death is natural. This is the setup for a snake oil pitch, and it's a classic one. Then again with the buzzwords. Frequencies of what? The word frequency doesn't mean anything if not directly referencing a physical phenomenon that can possess a frequency, like light or sound.
When patterns of energy are disrupted, we experience a state which we know as disease, which is a body that's not at ease.
This graphic is meaningless. We don't have orbs of colored light around us. Disease has a molecular basis. It does not have a basis in invisible personal rainbows that definitely do not exist.
The resistant, discordant energy patterning is responsible for every negative symptom we experience, everything from headache to cancer.
Again, what is this? Frequency of what? This has no correlation with anything in physical reality. Headaches and cancer are not caused by little quivering lines. This is such unadulterated fantasy that there isn't even anything to debunk.
In the physical world, you pick up a crystal and feel it as something separate from you that you're just holding. But on higher frequencies, you're actually interacting with that stone energetically. This interaction then causes changes to your structure and psychology through your own energetic systems.
No, this does not happen. If it did, it could be measured and substantiated. It is a fabrication aimed at people who don't require evidence in order to believe something.
Now, consciousness is, of course, the determining factor of if you're going to be accepting of these new frequencies coming into your being through crystals. I'm not going to say crystals will heal you, because if you fight them and are non-receptive to these frequencies, you will continue to create the disharmony within yourself.
The translation here is that crystal healing works by placebo effect. So if you don't think they will work, they won't work, because they only work when you trick yourself into thinking that they work.
Remember the 5 platonic solids? Science understands that all atomic patterns and molecular structures were based on these 5 forms.
No, they aren't. That doesn't mean anything. Molecular geometries do not exclusively resemble platonic solids.
One of the biggest things about crystals is that they can transmit frequencies. From a metaphysical perspective, we can transmit thoughts and emotions through crystals. But scientifically, doesn't that make sense?
No, it doesn't make sense. It sounds like magic. Just saying, doesn't that make sense, is not an argument.
Science found in the 50s that silicon shows the same principles of life as carbon. Exactly 1 octave down on the periodic table from carbon is silicon.
They are called periods, not octaves. The periodic table is not a piano.
Sponges deep in the ocean made from 100% silicon were also discovered, which shows that silicon life doesn't just work in theory, but they actually exist right here on this planet.
There are no sponges made of 100% silicon. If something is made of 100% silicon, it is silicon. This is one of the dumbest sentences I've ever heard. I can't understand how any human person doesn't just laugh out loud when they hear things like this. Okay, that's enough on crystals. Let's hear some commentary on physics.
What physics is telling us is that everything comes down to geometry and the interactions between elementary particles. Things can happen only when things are perfectly balanced.
This doesn't mean anything. It's just more vague nonsense intended to get people nodding their heads, pretending they are learning about deep truths in physics.
Garrett demonstrates to us how the particles that create point particles really work. He shows that when you plot them out in how they move, this is what they look like. At the tiniest scales of the universe and how it works is very beautiful.
What is this? Subatomic particles are not colored squares and circles and triangles. What are we looking at? What do these symbols represent? Not even a half-assed attempt to explain anything is offered, just random images acting as a backdrop for word salad.
Now.
Hi, we're OfferPad, and we want to buy your...
My bad, y'all.
This is one of the ways that these charges branch off from each other. As you can see, it flows in a hexagonal pattern, the same pattern that we found in the expanded flower of life. Then, if you rotate this pattern in 6-dimensional charge space, you see it forms yet another pattern. Many of you will recognize this as the shape of the Star of David, but its true name is the star tetrahedron, which maps perfectly over the fruit of life.
People love cool shapes, so the quantum mystic shows lots of cool shapes. Again, meaningless.
This shape, as we learned, is not only the root of all mathematical proportions, light, the platonic solids, but is also the source of every musical system in the universe, including systems both used and unknown to modern man.
I'm sorry, how? This shape is the root of light? What does that mean? Where are the platonic solids in here? How does this shape produce musical systems? Please explain. My favorite part is how it's the source of musical systems that are unknown. So we don't know them, but they're still based on this? That's about enough, but here's one more tidbit.
While today there are many sciences and researches delving into that ultimate question, what is a soul? There is still no concrete answers to this question.
No, there are no scientists trying to explain what a soul is, because that is not a scientific concept. Science is the study of the physical world. Anything supernatural, by definition, is not science, and there is no evidence that anything supernatural exists. This disconnect encapsulates the problem with quantum mystics. If someone wants to believe in a soul or speculate about the supernatural, they can go ahead and do so, but to pretend that it is supported by science is ludicrous. Videos like these are just rapid-fire lies over stock footage aimed at people who want to believe in magic, but also want to feign compatibility with real science. They are willfully ignorant to the point where they can't be bothered to even Google a word to find out if it's being used properly, because the story they've chosen to believe takes precedent over fact. And these are the types that will buy the 7-day transformation course and attend the retreats, and otherwise fork over the cash that makes these channels lucrative. Getting back to a more general discussion, as we can now see, from Deepak to YouTube, a central theme of quantum mysticism has been identified.
Physicists are being forced to admit that the universe is a mental construction because new physics is finally discovering that the observer shapes the reality.
Quantum scientists are now conducting measurable experiments, never before thought possible, to prove the theory. Consciousness creates reality.
So that's the story. Consciousness creates reality. There is no such thing as a physical world. Consciousness is all that exists. Now, this little hypothesis is all well and good if uttered between stoned philosophy undergrads at a party. But no, the quantum mystic insists that this notion is physics, that this deep truth is derived directly from empirical science. Well, it absolutely isn't, but that then begs the question, where did this lie come from? It's obvious that it's just a self-help sales pitch. It's quantum Tony Robbins.
Does conscious intention create reality? This question comes with a number of other questions. Does this mean we as individuals can shape and create whatever reality we'd like for ourselves? Does it mean we can manifest a certain lifestyle and attract certain experiences?
Manifest your desires with only 4 easy payments of $19.99. So again, if the notion of consciousness creating reality has nothing to do with quantum physics, how can these mystics claim as much? This is very easy to answer. All of this woo stems from deliberate misinterpretations of key experiments in 20th century physics. The most notable such misinterpretation is related to the famous double slit experiment. I have a tutorial on this topic as well as many other key aspects of quantum physics in my modern physics playlist. So please head over there after this video if you're interested in learning more about it. But to briefly summarize the issue that is relevant here, the double slit experiment was pivotal in demonstrating something called wave-particle duality. In short, everything is both particles and waves. Light is waves, but it's also particles, called photons. Electrons are particles, but they are also waves of probability density. When you get down to the tiniest things, everything is particles and waves, and it doesn't matter that it doesn't make sense to us. It doesn't matter that we can't visualize it or rationalize it. That's what the math tells us, so that's how reality works. The way the double slit experiment works is that particles are allowed to diffract through 2 slits to generate an interference pattern on a detector beyond, as makes sense for a wave. We can do this with light, but we can also do this with electrons. And in fact, we can even do it with an individual electron. The diffraction of an individual electron is a compelling demonstration of the wave nature of matter. Now, here's the kicker. When we are not interfering with the process, the particle appears to pass through both slits, just like a wave. But when we try to determine which slit it passes through, it appears to only pass through one, like a particle. It's incredible. The act of observing the particle changed its behavior.
The very act of measuring or observing which slit it went through meant it only went through one, not both. The electron decided to act differently, as though it was aware it was being watched.
Observations influence external reality. At least that's the pseudoscientific narrative that charlatans spin. In fact, it is impossible to observe a tiny particle, like an electron, without affecting the system. Observation requires physically interacting with such a particle. In the submicroscopic realm, observation is not a passive process. We can't spy on an electron the way we can peek at our neighbor through the window. Animating a little eyeball simply watching the electron is misleading and inaccurate. Measuring something about an electron involves interacting with it. Detection requires the emission of photons that interact with the electron and thereby affect certain properties of the electron. It is the physical act of taking a measurement that affects the system, not our consciousness. There is no magic, there is no voodoo, and there is no basis with which to conclude that particles know they are being watched or that we can create alternate realities with our minds. Something similar can be said for the quantum mystics' interpretation of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, the concept of superposition, and any other aspect of legitimate physics they attempt to reference, which means absolutely nothing if you don't do any math. There is nothing in physics that lends any credibility to the notion that the universe is immaterial or some kind of mental construct. One can engage in such philosophical speculation if they choose, and it's not a totally meritless intellectual exercise. But to say that such ideas have some kind of empirical basis in physics is objectively false. Anyone who says anything of the sort either doesn't understand physics or is lying, or both. Then, of course, there is the word quantum itself. It is a far more boring word than many people presume. Quantum simply refers to the minimum amount of any physical entity involved in an interaction. So, for example, photons are quanta. A photon is the smallest amount of light there can be. This idea of quantization tells us that physical properties consist strictly of integer multiples of some tiniest indivisible subunit. So there is a tiniest quantity possible for energy, space, and time, and all values are multiples of that unbelievably tiny subunit. Quantization is a core principle of quantum mechanics, and that's what this word refers to. It does not refer to lasers or interdimensional travel or whatever other unadulterated fantasy the mystic seeks to infuse it with. So apart from the self-help snake oil courtesy of Deepak and pals, where else does this narrative rear its ugly head? Who else lines their pockets with this brand of pseudoscience? Let's head over to the medical realm. Another facet of quantum mysticism involves a total distrust of Western medicine. According to the mystic, the body can heal itself, so real medicine is just big pharma trying to make a buck. This is another example of how the alt-health industry fosters and exploits anti-establishment bias. There are some people who so desperately want to believe that every perceived authority is wrong that they will blindly trust anyone who tells them so. And in this realm, it means avoiding drugs and doctors in favor of magic crystals and healers. As the narrative goes, Western medicine treats the symptoms, while alternative medicine treats the cause. In fact, this is the precise opposite of the truth, as these phony treatments operate exclusively by placebo effect, which is the slight mitigation of physical symptoms brought on purely by expectation. Essentially, if you believe your pain should be alleviated by pretty rocks or someone floating their hands over your body, then a shallow, fleeting period of pain relief can be experienced. But it is not causally related to the item or practice in question. It can be achieved by waving a magic wand and shouting abracadabra, if the subject is prone to believing that should work.
Hi, we're OfferPad, and we want to buy...
Listen, man. He going in, I ain't gonna lie.
So all the power of the mind rhetoric is not entirely without basis, but this palliative effect, apart from disappearing rapidly, does nothing whatsoever to address the cause of the ailment. All disease has a molecular basis, and real medicine addresses that molecular basis with molecules, like drugs. These are compounds that interact with proteins in your body, like enzymes and receptors, so as to induce a physiological change in your body, which reverses or otherwise addresses some unintended biological activity. We don't really have time to talk in depth about how medicine works, as that's not the point of this video, but I have a pharmacology playlist if you're interested, as well as others on biochemistry and biology for the relevant background information. Otherwise, rest assured, alternative medicine treats the symptoms, and poorly at that. Western medicine treats the cause. Anyone who says otherwise is a duper or one who has been duped. So what are these treatments precisely? Well, as we said, lots of people believe that crystals have magical healing powers. Pushers of this narrative display such disregard for physical reality that beyond not feeling obligated to substantiate these claims in the slightest, they even tend to throw out vaguely scientific-sounding word salads as justification, knowing that their target demographic will not scrutinize them for a single second. Their customers want to believe that magic is real and are willing to pay money to a practitioner to perpetuate this delusion. This could take the form of placing stones on the body, or the not as ancient as advertised practice of Reiki, which is just waving one's hands over the body to channel healing energy from a universal source. It's essentially faith healing, but with Asian mysticism instead of the Christian God. Each charlatan has their own jargon and specialized accoutrement, but at their core, they're all the same. They use words like quantum, vibration, frequency, and energy all incorrectly, with the goal of propping up pseudoscience so blatant that it's legitimately offensive. All the while, the story is spun of how arrogant scientists and doctors must be to ignore these powerful healing techniques, thinking themselves bigger than the universe. The hilarity behind this accusation lies in the fact that it is the healer who is so arrogant that they literally believe they have magic powers, like a wizard. That they are so wise, so enlightened, that they have access to a tier of reality that eludes the rest of the species. What could be a more narcissistic and childish delusion than this? Now, to be fair, we would do well to temper the outrage. Let's say someone goes to a Reiki session with a little back pain. They find the practitioner to be warm and personable. They have a little chit-chat. They lie down in a room with calming colored lights and pleasant ambiance. There's some Enya playing, or whatever those types of people are listening to these days. It all adds up to a legitimately therapeutic experience, leading to a placebo effect that makes them feel a little better. So where's the harm? Well, in such a case, one could say that there is no tremendous harm, and if you are looking to pay the price of a massage but not get one, then that's really up to you. And in fairness, most practitioners of these treatments are somewhat honest about their limitations, stating that they are not legitimate solutions for serious medical conditions or life-threatening emergencies. But not everyone in this culture displays this absolutely minimal modicum of ethical behavior. Some people get swept up in the notion that this sort of paradigm is the only true medicine, and that doctors and hospitals are not to be trusted under any circumstance. It goes without saying that this is a dangerous way of thinking, and when people forego actual medical treatment in favor of New Age voodoo, if this is prompted or encouraged by some perceived authority, it is a criminal act. People who prevent those in need of medical attention from getting that help should be formally prosecuted, especially in the case of parents acting on behalf of their sick children. Beyond these extreme circumstances, it is an enormous problem that the alt health industry is not regulated whatsoever. What this means is that when a healer makes some dubious claim in their shop or on a website, it is not scrutinized, nor are they made accountable for its veracity in any way. There is no entity in place to monitor any of this activity because it does not fall under the domain of any kind of actual science or medicine such that existing regulatory bodies would have jurisdiction. Imagine what would happen if a pharmaceutical company advertised that their new drug was a treatment for some kind of heart disease, when in fact it's just a sugar cube. In what world would that be allowed to happen? Within legitimate industries, these kinds of bald-faced lies are impossible, but in the alt-health realm, it's the norm. Homeopathic healers sell treatments that are truly nothing, just little globules that may as well be sugar cubes. If the consumer doesn't have the sense to see through the lies, that's on them. Regulation of any kind would mean the death of alt-health, as virtually nothing in it can be substantiated in any manner so as to be considered legitimate. So as we can now hopefully see, the narrative of the quantum mystic is preposterous. The notion that all of these healing techniques and ancient practices constitute some kind of ultimate truth, and that big medicine wants to hide these truths away to pump you full of nasty chemicals to make money, is childish and in itself money-driven. Humans had an average lifespan of 30 all the way until the turn of the 20th century. Our current lifespan and quality of life is owed almost exclusively to scientific advancements enabling the treatment and in some cases total eradication of infectious diseases and other maladies. Science is the real deal, and Western medicine is science-based medicine. The mystics are the ones slinging snake oil for cash, as this crystal, frivolously labeled magic wand of universal power, on sale for only $150, is, I'm sorry to say, just a pretty rock. This is where one must distinguish between your everyday self-help grifter and the much more damaging narrative of the quantum mystic. The former may be vague and hollow, but ultimately in some cases does actually help people. The path to happiness is inward and subjective, so if someone attains happiness and personal growth through some cookie-cutter self-help seminar, there's no real basis for anyone to tell them that they didn't. The quantum mystic, however, makes concrete, highly specific claims about the nature of external reality that are objectively false. These false claims lead people away from medical treatment and sow the seeds of distrust in the scientific community, which inevitably rears its ugly head in the form of the anti-vaccine movement and other cultural defects that end up killing people. In short, this is not a phenomenon that should be ignored. It should be exposed and deflated to prevent further damage. If you doubt how far this can go, you underestimate the degree of deception some people are willing to commit, as well as the capacity of the average person to fall for it. I'm talking about cults. Quantum mysticism is fertile territory for wannabe cult leaders. Take, for example, a YouTube channel called actualized.org, which has a little over 1 million subscribers. At first glance, this self-proclaimed prophet, a guy named Leo Gura, offers the same transparent self-help mumbo-jumbo as 1,000 salesmen before him. But as he evolved, his tactics went beyond this. Allow me to briefly demonstrate that Leo is a cult leader. I'm not being facetious here. When I say that someone is a cult leader, I mean that literally. But every cult has a story, so let's see how this one started. Again, like many cults, Leo started out in the self-help realm. How to be attractive, how to get money, how to get girls, how to make said girls squirt once you get them. Obviously some very highbrow stuff. But before long, he took a dive into the pool of mysticism. Here's him warming up with some of the compulsory jargon.
My thesis is that quantum mechanics corroborates non-duality. Quantum mechanics conclusively debunks materialism and the notion of there being an objective reality or physicality. The only way to really understand the full consequences of quantum mechanics is to transcend the human mind. It's not merely that we don't know where the particle is because our instruments aren't accurate enough. It was literally discovered that there is no such thing as a particle. It was also discovered that observation affects all measurements, such that you can't actually take a measurement of anything without affecting the thing that you're measuring. When you're not looking at your child, that child exists as infinity, as nothingness. When you're not looking at an elephant, it's infinity, it's nothingness. When you're not looking at your house, it's infinity, it's nothingness. That's what it is.
So, like many others, quantum mechanics is the well he draws his lies from. What's the central theme?
There is no physical reality and no physical universe. The Big Bang never happened. You are not actually sitting on the planet Earth. Billion years have never passed. There is no space. There is no time. You are not a biological living creature. In fact, you were never even born. You do not have parents. You did not have a childhood. You did not grow up. You did not press play at the beginning of this video. You imagined all of that.
So you physically didn't press play.
So we've heard this script before. Physical reality isn't real. It's all consciousness. Given his confidence on the subject, he must have some training in physics, I bet.
My deepest qualification is not a certificate or a PhD. It's simply that I've thought about this stuff. I've been passionate about it and I've cared about it. And that's really the only qualification you need to understand a thing.
No, thinking about something really hard doesn't magically deliver comprehension. It just leads people to a false sense of wisdom, which is fertile grounds for cult building. Let's see how Leo does it.
You see, this is very radical. You do not want to accept what I'm saying here. And you have a billion excuses for why what I'm saying doesn't make sense and why it is false and why I'm crazy. But what I'm telling you is the absolute truth. And deep down, you know this.
This is what cult leaders do. Insist that they're right, and any doubt or sentiment to the contrary is absurd. That voice of sanity telling you that this is bullshit, don't listen to it. Listen to me. Listen only to me.
And you start to feel yourself unravel. And of course, all of your emotions kick in to overdrive, to warn you. Red warning alarms are sounding in your mind, telling you, do not listen to this anymore. Turn it off, turn away, go do something else, distract yourself, forget about it. But that fear is precisely the thing that tells you that what I'm saying is true.
This is called gaslighting. It means to manipulate someone psychologically to get them to question their own sanity. It's what sociopaths do, and all cult leaders are sociopaths.
Angry, offended by what I'm saying, if you become critical of what I'm saying, if you leave a nasty comment, or you have an inclination to, or whatever, or you have some objections and you want to dispute this, and you have some brilliant arguments for how to argue with me, there's no arguments here. All of that, those are emotional reactions that you have to be conscious of, and all of those equal the proof that you've been looking for. So the proof that you want right now, which you're not getting from me because you're saying that I'm being evasive or whatever, that proof is in your emotional reactions. You have to start seeing that how your ego is deceiving you. Your ego, your psyche, that's what we're talking about here, right?
So basically, I am right because I am right. And if you don't think that I'm right, it's because you are deceiving yourself. Cult leaders always construct ideologies with built-in defense mechanisms so as to be impervious to criticism, kind of like a deity. Speaking of deities...
So right now, I'm completely conscious that I'm God, and I'm completely conscious of how I'm creating the entire universe. Anything that could ever possibly exist, I am, and it's absolute perfection. Pure infinite consciousness is what I am. I am absolutely everything, and I'm conscious of absolutely everything. I'm completely omniscient. I know everything that's happening in the entire universe all at once, because I am all of it at once.
Yes, Leo is God. You heard him right. He is omniscient, even though just 2 minutes prior this happened.
I've been going through a total awakening. Hold on, what is at my door? Yes? I'm recording here. Thanks.
Funny how an omniscient deity didn't know who was at his door.
I can kind of course, stoop myself down to that level. Really, yeah, in order to communicate with a human, I'm sorry, I mean, this sounds arrogant, but it is what it is. I have to stoop down to your level. You see, I have to think like you, I have to think like a monkey. I have to think like an ego. I have to think like a devil, basically. How does God communicate itself to a devil? That's a devil right there on the end of that screen. Anything disconnected from God is a devil.
Passengers, we have reached cruising altitude. At this point, any rational person would conclude that Leo is identical to any lunatic raving on a street corner with tissue boxes for shoes and a frying pan for a hat, and would walk right by having a nice laugh. But try to remember that no one is rational 100% of the time. Some people are more gullible than others, but even highly rational, intelligent people can have their judgment and sense of self diminished through destabilizing events. Some people are vulnerable. Some people follow his instructions to take high-octane psychedelic drugs and allow him to shape their reactions to these experiences. Some people have experienced intense trauma and are susceptible to the tactics of a cult leader like him. This is why most cults start out in the self-help realm. It lures in those who look outwards for answers about themselves. But wait a minute, what if you already have a god?
So truly now, my understanding of awakening has become so rich and so full that I can really appreciate the subtle differences between different teachers and different teachings and different religions and traditions. And basically what I'm talking about now is a level of awakening that transcends everything, transcends all teachings, all teachers, transcends the Buddha, transcends Christ, transcends every master that you've heard about, transcends Zen, transcends Buddhism, Christianity, Advaita, all of it. All of it becomes like a joke. It transcends the chakras, it transcends meditation, it transcends yoga. There is no way you can reach this level of awakening through meditation, through yogas, through self-inquiry, nothing.
That's right, folks. Whatever you worship, it sucks. Leo is better than all gods before him. What does he do with this power?
From this ridiculous state of consciousness, it's possible to do miraculous healing. Only a handful of humans have ever been capable of on the entire planet in the entire history of mankind. And that literally miracles will be possible.
I don't know. Sounds kind of Jesus-y to me. So anyway, what's in it for us?
If you're open to that possibility, I can show you every single obstacle that is preventing you from realizing that you're God.
Wait a minute. I'm God too?
When you do realize that you're God, this will instantaneously solve every single problem in your life. Not only that, but it will heal you. It will heal you of every disease and problem that you have. That's how powerful this is.
Wow, where do I sign up? By now, we have a pretty firm grasp on what Leo is peddling. So where does this get really dangerous and harmful? Let's take a look.
Death is truth. Death is love. Death is infinity. Death is God. Death is consciousness. Death is selflessness. And what you call life, that's selfishness. That's falsehood. That's delusion. That's identification. That's attachment. That's construction.
If you think it sounds like he is glorifying death, you're not the only one. Let's hear it a little more clearly.
That is otherwise known as physical death. We're asking you to physically die, which of course nobody wants to do, which of course is why this stuff stays relatively unknown.
And one more time.
How do you save a devil? In the end, only death will save a devil.
Remember from his rant before where he points into the camera, the viewer is the devil. Only death will save the viewer. He is actively telling people to kill themselves. Later in this video, he issues a disclaimer stating that nobody should physically harm themselves or others, but it's not enough. Fragile people hear things like this repeatedly, and it affects them. And guess what? Some of them have tried. Here are comments in his forum from some of his followers outlining suicidal thoughts and actual suicide attempts as a direct result of Leo's influence. Prior to COVID, Leo was planning a nationwide tour with meetups and mentioned the desire to start a retreat center. So far over the internet, he hasn't been able to physically separate vulnerable people from their support systems. Who knows what he could do in person? So as you can see, actualized.org is a cult. It is one of many cults in this landscape. And what happens when we turn our backs to cults? Very bad things. The most insignificant of these would be irreparable damage to the psyche of cult members. Stepping up from there, cult leaders tend to commit rape and act abuse. These people are largely just predatory sociopaths spinning an intricate web of lies to take advantage of others. We tend to mythologize people like Charles Manson and convince ourselves that it's something out of a storybook, but there are a lot of people like that, and they do this stuff all the time. And if you want to see just how bad cults can get, Look at Scientology. The amount of suffering this cult has caused is immeasurable. Countless lives wasted and families destroyed. What if someone had stopped it decades ago before it got so out of control? Who could argue that precisely this shouldn't have been done? So why shouldn't we be doing it now to other cults? I don't have the answers regarding this larger goal. It will take a combined effort of many people and cooperation from various federal and private institutions. But in the meantime, all we can do is identify these toxic people and aggressively disempower them in any way we can. To that end, the only way I can help is to offer tips on how to spot misinformation online, such as the false claims of the mystics in this video. As this channel has always been largely academic, beyond the occasional debunk like this one, I've chosen to write a book containing the sort of information we've talked about here today, covering pseudoscience related to fields from chemistry to medicine to physics. It's called Is This Wi-Fi Organic? A Guide to Spotting Misleading Science Online. If you're interested in getting some tips on how to spot these broader trends, from genuine public confusion to vicious hoaxes and con men, give it a read. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.
Harder on the beat.
bathroom smelled so bad I couldn't see. I felt so bad for these kids.